Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ושבתך בביתך, ולך בדרך, ובשוכך ובנך, וקשרתך לאור ידך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ותחתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please be seated as we take a moment now for silent prayer. Please join me on page 35. Source of our life and our sovereign, cause us to lie down in peace, and rise again to enjoy life. Spread over us the covering of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Be a shield about us, turning away every enemy, disease, violence, hunger, and sorrow. Remove temptation that awaits us, and the guilt that lies behind us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are a God who guards and protects us,
a ruler of mercy and compassion. Guard us when we go out and when we come in, to enjoy life and peace both now and forever. and spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, God, spreading the shelter of peace over us, over your people Israel, and over all the world.
Amen. לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
As we come to the Amidah on page 38, please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita ilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'Elohei imotenu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, קונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, בוקר שריו. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיבה רוח ומוריד את השם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. You may choose to be seated at this point or remain standing for the rest of the Amidah. We'll take some time now as an opportunity for silent prayer before joining back together again on page 44. Mishaberach Avotenu, Makor Habrachal Imotenu. Our God and God of our ancestors, we think of those in our community who are in need of healing. Liz Gluckman, Liza Horseman, Stella Hirsch, Tessa Levy, Sammy Rosenberg, Harold Gervik, Lyndon Reese, David and Valerie Abrahamson, Hadar Gadol, Rabbi Adam Frankenberg, Jane Kleiner, Edward Hoffman, Louise Kay, Len Marks, Rolf Allen, Rena Zifroni, David Chapman, and Jerry Lindell. To these, we add the names of all those innocents who have been injured in the ongoing conflict in Israel and Gaza, as well as the hostages held in captivity. Specifically, we name David and Ariel Cunyo and Arbel and Dolev Yehud, adopted by our community. God grant them wholeness of the soul and healing of the body. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh hacholim, umatir asurim. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Le'olam Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael V'chol et uv'chol sha'a bishlomecha Baruch ata Adonai Hamvarech et Amo Yisrael B'shalom. Oseh shalom birmomav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Israel, ve'al kol ha'olam, ve'imru. Amen. Just 1 week ago, the Wellbeing Research Center of the University of Oxford published their 2024 World Happiness Report. The report makes for interesting reading, but as I read it, I couldn't help but ask myself questions. What is it that makes a person happy? Is it financial stability, job satisfaction, family and friends? It's probably safe to assume that it's a combination of all these things and then some. But according to research, there is one thing that we can all try and put into practice to increase our happiness levels: cultivating a sense of gratefulness. If one wants to learn more about gratitude, a good place to start would be with Professor Robert Emmons, a psychologist working out of UC Davis in California. He spent over 20 years in this field, writing both academic and popular works on this topic. And while perusing his work, I was unsurprised to find references to faith and religion. In fact, one of his pieces from 2007 features a story from the Christian Bible to illustrate how gratitude works in practice. Now, if I had the chance to speak with Professor Emmons, I might like to tell him about our Torah portion for tomorrow morning. Now, if you're here with us for Freddie's bar mitzvah, you'll hear lots of verses about sacrifices, about what we're meant to bring as burnt offerings, sin offerings, and guilt offerings. But then, the Torah begins to talk about the Zevach Shlamim, often translated as the offerings of well-being. The word Shlamim, however, shares its root with the word for peace, meaning we could translate this as a peace offering. Rabbi David Zvi Hoffman taught that the offering is meant either to create a sense of peace in his or her own soul with God's help, or to acknowledge and show appreciation for the ability to create a sense of well-being within. Speaking of Thanksgiving, our Torah portion for tomorrow discusses Thanksgiving offerings as a type of well-being offering. It tells us that these sacrifices are voluntary contributions to the temple in celebration of something positive. That sounds wonderful. Something good happens to us, so we choose to go to the temple and make an offering. Rashi, however, tells us there's something else we ought to know about these Thanksgiving offerings. According to the Talmud, there are 4 types of people who must give an offering of thanksgiving: those who travel by sea, those who travel through the desert, those who have a life-threatening illness, and those who finish a prison sentence. For these 4 types of people, Thanksgiving is mandated. This is a bit puzzling, and it gets even more challenging once one realizes that the Talmud also states that intention is critical when making a sacrifice. Even if one slaughters an animal, if their intention isn't in sync with their contribution, they have not satisfied their obligation. So not only do these people have to give a sacrifice in thanksgiving, they have to mean it. How can Torah legislate our feelings? It's difficult to imagine that God can command us to feel any particular way, and yet there are several occurrences of just such a law. On Sukkot, we are told we must rejoice in our holidays. The first paragraph of the Shema tells us we must love the eternal our God. The Holiness Code, which we'll read in a few weeks, commands us to love our neighbor as ourselves. So how can we respond to these commandments? A good way to understand this comes from the ancient rabbis. They look at these feelings and associate them with particular actions. Let's use the example of Sukkot. Rather than forcing a smile, the rabbis suggest that the holiday should be spent eating good food, drinking responsibly, and surrounding oneself with others. Now, doing these actions, say the rabbis, fulfills the commandment, but it also does something else. It provides the atmosphere that encourages most of us to feel happy. It sets the scene nicely, so the opportunity for joy is there. Similarly, when it comes to loving our neighbors like ourselves, the rabbis teach us that love is a series of actions, doing for them what we would want done for ourselves. Love is a matter of what you do just as much as it is a matter of what you say. When it comes to God, our love is also based in actions, in our observance of mitzvot, and through our commitment to serving Adonai. Our hearts and minds follow our lips and hands as we perform our roles. Now, gratitude is also a practice. Returning to Professor Emmons' work, gratitude, according to him, requires two things: an affirmation of the positive and an acknowledgement of how other people have played a role in the good parts of our lives. Because I am a rabbi and not an academic, I would like to suggest a third step: contemplating the role of the divine in our existence. Being able to marvel at the good and the beautiful in the world that is outside the human realm is also an important part of gratitude, as Leviticus reminds us. Now, this may be especially important for those who have experienced trauma. Perhaps those 4 types of people who are obligated to show gratitude as part of their healing process. Maybe even more challenging for them after illness, danger, or imprisonment, but to fully rejoin wider society, one must be able to gain a sense that there is beauty, wonder, and goodness in the world. So that is what is behind this portion of this week. Amongst all the talk of sacrifices and offerings, the recognition of all that is special and spectacular in this world, a reminder for which we can all be grateful. Ken Yehi Ratzon, so may it be God's will. Amen. We will turn now to conclude our service with the words of the Aleinu on page 48. Please rise.
Aleinu לשבח רצון הכל, לצאת וליוצא בראשית, אשר בחר מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמה, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כאן כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבת אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, והארץ מתחת אין עוד.
Page 49, we read together, "Therefore, Almighty God, we put our hope in you. Soon let us witness the glory of your power, when the worship of material things shall pass away from the earth, and prejudice and superstition shall at last be cut off, when the world will be set right by the rule of God, and all humanity shall speak out in your name, and all the wicked of the earth shall turn to you. Then all who inhabit this world shall meet in understanding, and shall know that we are all partners in the repairing of your world. For yours alone is the true reign, and only the glory of your rule endures forever. So it is written in your Torah, the eternal shall rule forever and ever. So it is prophesied, the eternal shall be sovereign over all the earth. On that day, the eternal shall be one, and known as one.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
The souls of the righteous are in the hands of God, and no harm shall come to them. God, source of compassion, you give life in which joys and sorrows are mingled, and send death with its promise of eternal peace. We mourn this week the deaths of Peggy Walford, mother of Richard, Charles, Veronica, and Rosemary, and grandmother; Phyllis Levy, mother of Jackie, mother-in-law of Pete, grandmother and great-grandmother; Marie Morris, mother of Michael Morris and Lisa Ann Scott, and grandmother; Uriel Baruch, a hostage tragically murdered in Gaza, and all those who died in the terror attack in Russia. May you comfort their families and all who mourn for them. May God, who is full of compassion, whose presence is over us, cover them in the shelter of your wings forever and bind their souls into the gathering of life. And we remember at this time all those who once shared with us the joys and challenges of life, but who are with us no longer. May their souls shine like the brightness of the heavens. We thank you for all you gave them during their lives. We think especially of those who died at this time in years past: Ruth Golditch, cousin of Brian; Stanley Brilliant, father of Simon and David, grandfather of Natasha and James; Ben Cohen, husband of Sue; Nicola Jane Levy, mother of Oliver, Thomas, Melissa, and Gemma; Bruce Cohen, husband of Louise, father of Nicola, Andrew, Stephen, Claire, and Emily, and grandfather; and Ezra Levy, grandfather of Maya. For our Spoken Memory Project, on this Shabbat, we honor the memory of Georgie Denish, aged 35, murdered in the Shoah, who has no one to mourn for him. Zichronam livracha. May the memory of their love and guidance be a source of enduring blessing. In loving memory, we sanctify God's name with the words of the Kaddish on page 53. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alman tivrach rutei v'yamlich mochutei. V'chayachon v'yomechon. V'chayei tichol Beit Yisrael. V'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitmaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kudsha b'richu. La'ela mikol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. T'amiran be'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya. V'chaim alenu ve'al kol Israel. V'imru Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol ha'olam, v'imru Amen. Please be seated. With Purim behind us, our thoughts turn to Pesach, which unbelievably is next month. If you would like to come and join us for a Seder, we would love to have you. We're running 2 on first night, one for families in the Stern Hall with Maya and Rabbis David and Helen, and one for the 20-plus, 30-plus group. So if you're under the age of 40 but over the age of 20, you can come and join me in the Goldsmith Hall. We're going to have lots of good fun. We've got a couple other announcements that you can find at the back of this handout. You can see on April 14th, Rabbi David has an interesting event with one of our authors, Helen Lederer. So please come and join us for that as well. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask Freddie and anyone else who is here who is under the age of bar or bat mitzvah. So that means anyone who is 13 and under to please come up onto the bima. And you're going to join us for the final blessing. And can I also see, is there anyone here this evening for whom this is their first time coming to West London Synagogue? Lovely. Well, right after this service, we're going to head into the Goldsmith Hall. We're going to have Kiddush. There will be some grape juice, some wine, and some bread. Please help yourself to each, but don't eat or drink until after we've said the blessings. And if you are new, please make sure you come on up and introduce yourself. For now, we are going to turn to our final song, which is Yigdal on page 55.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא בעינת המציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו הגוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם לכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפר נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו, לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו, לאור עולמים בזולתו, סופר יודע סתרנו, מביט לסוף דבר בקדמותו, גומל לאיש חסיד כמפעלו, נותן לרשרה כרישתו, ישלח לקץ ימים משיחנו, לפדות מחר כקץ ישועתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו.
Please rise, and thank you to Maya and Richard for the beautiful music, and to Anna Strang at the back, and I think David was around at some point for all of our there he is, for all of our live streaming, to our Beadle Siobhan, and to all of our wardens, and to everyone who participated in the service. Now let us bless each other on page 67. Yivarchenu Adonai v'yishmerenu, Ya'er Adonai panav eleinu v'chunenu, Yisa Adonai panav eleinu v'yasem lanu shalom. May God bless us and keep us. May God's face shine upon us and be gracious to us. May God's face turn towards us and give us peace.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.